in front. No more options, no path was being torn apart. Standing open. It did not shout. It simply was now in.
This desert will be our doom! Give us answers!
Welcome to Bible Recreated AI.
In front of him an endless sea with no escape. Behind him an army of death closing in. And in this moment everything rests on one man. They followed him out of slavery, out of fear, out of hope. But now, with nowhere left to run, what kind of leader would he become? Even the chosen feel fear. Even the faithful feel doubt. But what defines them is not what they feel, but what they do next. There is no more time, no more options, no path behind, no path ahead, only a single moment that will decide everything. Faith is not seeing and then believing. It is believing before you see anything change, even when everything says you are wrong. He did not wait for a sign. He did not wait for certainty. He lifted his staff in defiance of fear, in obedience to something greater. This is the step no one talks about. The step into the unknown, where faith is no longer words, but movement into the impossible. And then the world began to respond, not to power, not to force, but to a man who chose to believe. This was no illusion, no trick of the eye. The sea itself was being torn apart by something beyond human understanding. The path was there, where no path had ever existed. A road through the impossible, but the question remained, who would walk it first? He did not wait for anyone, he did not ask for reassurance, he stepped forward into a path that should not exist, trusting what he could not control. They saw the impossible standing open before them, but faith is not inherent, each step must be taken on your own. When one man walks in faith, others find the courage to follow. And suddenly, a miracle becomes a movement. The walls of water stood, like giants held in place by a force unseen, and every second felt like it could collapse. The sea did not rage, it did not shout, it simply returned, and in its return, nothing was spared. And just as suddenly as it opened, the sea closed, erasing every trace of those who followed. After the chaos came something far more terrifying. Not the noise, but the silence that followed it. The sea did not return the fallen, only pieces, fragments of what once believed it could conquer everything. They kept walking, but their souls stayed behind, in what they could not understand. He did not command the sea. He obeyed the one who did, and that changed everything. They were free, but freedom felt heavier than chains. Step by step, into a land they had never seen. The miracle was behind them, but the desert was now in front of them. Faith fades quickly when the body begins to break. They followed a miracle, but now they questioned the path. Silence was turning into voices.
Moses, we can't go on like this! Where is the water you promised? Our children are suffering!
The miracle was behind them, but the desert ahead was unforgiving, and faith began to weaken. They had seen power, but now they felt hunger, thirst, and fear returned. And slowly the silence broke. Questions rose. And trust began to fracture. And now the weight of freedom fell on one man who could not turn back.
We are dying of thirst! Where is the water? This desert will be our doom! Give us answers! Speak!
Faith began to crack under the weight of thirst, and the people demanded answers. They had followed him through the sea, but now they questioned everything.
We must have faith. The Lord will provide.
We're stabbed! He followed you to die!
He stood alone between their fear and the God they could not see. It did not change the desert. It changed the man within it. No sign, no thunder, no voice from the sky. No voice called them. No sign appeared. Only a choice to keep moving. One step, then another, and suddenly they were no longer alone. Not driven by strength, but by something deeper. Faith, not proven, but chosen. The sea opened once, but this journey would define them. Not certainty. Step by step, they carved a path. Not in the desert, but within themselves. They were still weak, yet somehow stronger than before. They were never in control, and they finally understood.